Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for another day of the LA Sevens. This one, Fiji versus Great Britain in a 7th place playoff. So whoever wins this game will finish 7th in the overall rankings. The loser, they will get themselves 8th. Two sides that didn't quite get off to the greatest starts in their groups. In fact, both coming off 3 losses heading into this matchup. The Fijian starting lineup, though, for this contest, it is Kavakini Tanivanua-Kula, Georgie Nasova, Seville Mothanotangi, Felipe Satoranga, Manueli Mai Samoa, Tira Wailangi, and also Sakiusa Sanila as the last man. And the starting side for Team GB, it is Matt Davison, Morgan Williams, Freddie Roddick, Sonny Jardine, Charlton Kerr, Ethan Waddleton, and Harry Glover to close out the starting side. But both of these teams, they'd love to just get that one win. For the LA Sevens, it has been far from the best competition for both. But let's see what they can do here. Looks like Great Britain just kicked the ball away. Okay, that ball must have been a bit flat. So they decided that they wanted a different one. I was going to say that kickoff's actually gone backwards if that was what he was trying to do. But now we are ready to go. Team GB versus Team Fiji. They're normally known more as the Flying Fijians, but it rhymes, so we went with it. It's going to be kicked off by GB. Going from left to right for the first game of the day. Now, we've already seen the first game take place on match or pitch number 2. It was between South Africa and Argentina and turned into a pretty entertaining finish. So hopefully this one's going to be no different. Counter-ruck coming from Great Britain, and they have already managed to steal the ball, and they are looking towards the corner. And within the 20 seconds, Great Britain have scored the try. That is far from the start that the Fijians would have been after, but Matt Davison, the one who does cross the try line, and not the start to the match, like I said, for Fiji, that they were after. Just too much space, a little bit of a shift play there. Looked like they were going to the left-hand side, but then changing direction and going to the right instead. Fiji having a gap in the defence. Tanivanua-Kula, the closest man to him, so about probably 5-10 metres away. And it's a good kick of the ball, but just going to be short of the goalpost, making the score now 5-0 after the first minute of this contest. Scoreboard does seem like it's still asleep at the moment in New Zealand. It is 6:07 a.m. That is the same time in Fiji, but a nice evening kickoff for you guys going for GB in the Northern Hemisphere. Looking to be very hard to put down on the ground was Tanivanua-Kula, but just taking a little bit too long. And GB managing to get 3 players in there, holding them up in the maul, and they will get themselves the scrum. Just a little bit of a mistake from Fiji. And yes, it's all well and good, Tanivanua-Kula trying to show off his leg strength, but he stayed upright for a little bit too long, and GB saw it, managed to get in there, and they do win themselves the scrum. But this is once again on a very good position in the field. Oh, 3 rugby balls all got thrown in there. I think they were looking for a ball. Was that because that ball wasn't good either? Oh, good throw from Harry Glover, managed to fire it off the field. Yeah, it makes it a bit of a concern, the fact that already 2 balls that they have tried to use today haven't been up to par. Definitely with the fact that there's a championship on the line just around the corner. Oh, as everyone says, Bruce, it is an early morning start for the Fijians, and I would say after 3 losses in a row, it wouldn't be the highest game on the list of priorities. Nice run, though, from Georgie Nasova. His priority list is to be top of the overall try scorers. And that one there, I believe, will put him just that little bit closer to that set achievement. But he does score the try between the posts. It will mean a nice, easy kick for Fiji to then bring the score to 7 points to 5. Great Britain, they have had a trend at the moment, which is they have scored first in quite a few of their games, but then they go on to then concede about 5 tries. See there, Glover in the background, not too happy with the defensive work from Great Britain. Score now sitting 7 points to 5. Hopefully the scoreboard does fire up some stage in the near future, but currently 3 minutes into this contest, Fiji have got themselves a lead, and he has separated himself by 1 at the moment, ladies and gents. Marcos Moneta is sitting in second in the standings. They are saying that he is good to go, although he did take quite the hefty shot to the eye yesterday. He got quite the shiner on, and that one, I believe it's gone into touch on the far side, which does mean, again, Fiji are going to have themselves the line out from about 30 metres out from the line. So taken by Glover, and then just the foot backing into touch. They had him in the air. Now line out. Fiji, normally having Josefa Talatholo to take part in these lineouts. Good morning and afternoon, Kiwi Lads audiences. Blues Nate, welcome in, mate. Hope you're doing extremely well. Now going off to the right-hand side. I got some news. We'll wait for later then. Right, okay, that's a bit of a cliffhanger, isn't it? Oh, we have got them Marina Kiwi Lads. Everyone, 1 p.m. or 6:10, I assume that is. AM New Zealand time, but early. I can tell by the typing, pardon me, but yeah, hopefully you are doing very well. Enjoying the early morning start. That is going to be a great step from Davison. A great start to this contest. Only 2 points down for GB. Rushing forward was Tera Wailangi trying to cut off the pass, but it was perfectly over his head. And it's another try coming for Great Britain. Now, I assume that the scoreboard's not going to update, so we will have to quickly makeshift one. We'll go like this, but Great Britain, they will get themselves some more points in this one. Fiji, they are sitting on the 7. There we go. That kick is good from GB2, making the score 12 points to 7. Still 2.5 minutes to go. AM Hammy, time to open the workshop. So here's Spider Meek in there as well. Now ready to kick this one off. It will be Great Britain. Once again, they've done brilliantly in terms of the start of this contest. Manueli Maisa not winning the aerial battle. That was a push in the back from Charlton Kerr, but referee's going to let it slide. Kerr does pick up the ball now inside of the half for Great Britain, trying to sneak his way through. Now, off to the left-hand side. Sounds like Team GB, they're saying about how they must donate to charity every time they score a try, and also they're trying to find jobs for the players as well, or something like that. That sounds like a interesting initiative, something that you don't really hear of too much for certain sides, but Great Britain now, 22 metres out from the line, the show and go from Harry Glover, and he will score it between the posts and get the third try now of the half. Do you think South Africa going to the final? Then will they be first? Those are two very tough questions, Mohadeen. I mentioned earlier on about how I felt like they do come in as favourites up against New Zealand after the way that they have been playing, sitting undefeated at the moment, but it's Sevens at the end of the day. Sevens is one of those ones that you can predict something 100% right and then look like a complete idiot the next one because of how different the same result can go. You know, New Zealand versus Spain is a perfect example. Anytime they play, New Zealand somehow still come in as heavy favourites, even though the last 4 times, or 4 of the last 5, we have seen the Spanish win. Fiji Sevens, there's Joshua there. And yes, it is still in their first half. 3 line breaks for Great Britain. They've had 19 passes. According to that, Fiji have made 0 passes throughout that first half. So this has been far from their best effort. And Mr. and Mrs. Scoreboard update, please. Says Blues Nate. Yeah, it's very slow at the moment, the scoreboard. Normally by now someone would have clicked the button, but I guess they are also still asleep. Now passing it off. Another penalty. And that is now about the 5th penalty against Fiji as well here. And it looks like there's a massive amount of frustration as every time they try and get anything going, they're getting pinged for some sort of infringement. Looks like they are going to go for the scrum now. Harry Glover just constantly has a face of confusion. And I guess he's always thinking about what the next play will be for Great Britain. Also probably just trying to work out how they lost their first 3 games. And we're a decent side heading into this leg. And honestly haven't played terrible rugby. It's just the amount of times that they've conceded from bad decisions. A little bit similar to Fiji. It has cost them games. That was a forward pass out to Jardine, but it is going to be play on. And the penalty again going against Fiji for not rolling away. What's your nickname? I don't really have one per se. Nothing like crazy anyway. Oh, scoreboard's kicked in. I wonder how long it will be before we do see it updated. Has the scoreboard got a handle on it? It needs winding up, says Bruce. And also no worries, Hamish, thank you. Says the Blues Nate there as well. We're going off to the right-hand side. Popping it off to the left. And it's going to be now play on Glover. Now, through the legs play from Ethan Waddleton. Jardine, cross to Roddick. Kerr waiting for the grubber in behind. He's going to be chasing it hard. Gets the bounce of the ball. And it's another try for Great Britain. They will be leading at halftime 26 points to 7. This is a competition to forget for the Flying Fijians. And Leinster Rugby says Joshua, Great Britain, Fiji Sevens. I'm noticing the trend. It's teams that have lost over this weekend. Too soon? Probably a little bit, I would think. And I spotted Mick very chilly. Says Blues, Nate, my mum's a Brit, but I never support GB. Don't know why. Anyone but GB, says Spider Mick. But the try right at the end of the half, 26 points to 7 is the score at the moment. This has been a phenomenal start to this match for Great Britain. And Fiji just wonder whether or not they've got any way of getting back into it. Haim-ish, what do you think? I mean, it's probably an all right one for writing it. But, like, it's just saying it just sounds like my name. So it doesn't really have much nickname value in terms of vocally. But I guess, right, what's the go? What's a Haim? And why am I only half Haim? Looks like tackle completion a little bit low for the Fijians. Fiji performing terrible in LA, says LFG. And I actually mentioned about something that I'm curious what you guys would think. I said about it on the Toulouse live stream up against Bordeaux, but I think that, yes, they're changing all the circuit now, so it probably doesn't matter. But when it comes to these last two rounds, the one that is the very end where we get to see who's crowned from points, and then the follow-up round when it comes to who wins the championship, I do feel like those rounds should be back-to-back. I think that Vancouver for the final leg of the regular one to find out who's going to win the championship, and as a bonus for the winner of that one, as well as whoever wins the overall table, being in action the very next week, I feel like should be, it just makes sense in a way. But I think that we've learned over the last few years for the Sevens that they're trying to make as less amount of sense as possible. Just look at the new divisions that are coming in. Now ready to go for the second half of this contest. It looks like the scoreboard has now behaved itself, so we will remove ours. We are now underway for the last half that these two sides will play of the season, taken by Harry Glover in the air. Currently, Great Britain down by 3 tries. We'll have an acre to climb. And the second half running down the wing, running out of space for Williams, does go into touch. And Fiji now will have themselves a line out. How come they get to be GB? How come they get to combine their powers, says Return? Just because of the fact that they also cut down the amount of teams. Which meant that pretty much they couldn't have England, Scotland, etc. into individual sides. So the only way to fit them in was actually to make them GB. Plus it works better because they play as GB for the Olympics. So it made sense for them to still be GB for this. Now going off to the right-hand side. But you would also think that with having so many teams or so many countries represented, that their results would be, no offense to them, like, yes, they're in the top 8, but you'd think they'd be a little bit higher with so many options. But then we also have to remember the Sevens side of things hasn't really picked up in any of the nations involved in Great Britain. Yes, there are a few competitions around. Nice run down the wing here for the Fijians. Something is wrong with Fiji. It's not the Fiji of old, I know. And only trailing them by 19 points. Although if anyone was going to be able to make up a 19-point deficit, this Fijian side, when they're on form, could certainly be them. I have to say, without Tario Vailawa in the starting lineup, has impacted them a little bit. And yes, he was starting in a few of the games that they've lost so far, but he just adds something into the side. Running down the wing, Nasova wrestled down. And that is not Georgie, that is in fact his brother in this case. Now passing across to the right-hand side. Missed pass from Saturanga. Does go out to Manueli Maisamoa, right next to the touchline. Doesn't decide to offload the ball, and the penalty goes the way of Fiji for not rolling away. Quick tap taken by the Flying Fiji, and Saturanga again misses the pass. That is 2 in a row from that man. Sanila has to pick it up. And we have got there, yes, I'd imagine Fiji Samoa combined would be very good. Says Return, of course, Story Bro. Now passed on the outside. Chance again for Nasova. Offloaded out to Tani Vanuakula. This one's now a good chance for Fiji. Looking for an offload again, but Great Britain tie him up, and Waddleton over the ball gets the steal, and now the draw and pass. A lot of open space for Jardine. Pops it back on the inside. Big shot coming in from Saturanga. Let's both men and women really surprised me this weekend and performed very well. There's LFG. And yeah, the bonus is that the weekend's not over for either of those sides. Still plenty more matches on the cards, or at least one for both. Off to the right-hand side. Bounce pass there from GB. Currently sitting 4 minutes remaining in this contest. Fiji down by the 3 tries. They've got the steal this time. I'm surprised the ref didn't give the penalty for that one, but saying that, I don't think he's given Fiji many throughout this game. And it's going to go towards the sideline. GB, Ethan Waddleton, what a step that is. Cutting through. Tani Vanua Cool, it can't quite make that tackle. And Waddleton in the end tackles himself by tripping over. Now Charlton Kerr tries the grubby. Big clean out on him, and it's going to be a yellow card for a Fijian player. What's Fiji's energy like? They're usually very expressive and fired up. They look flat, to be honest. They look like they're a defeated side. Nasova now is going to get sent off the field for 2 minutes. There's a Soa Nasova. I should mention, Iliavi Nasova. And did our boys lose to Spain? They did again. So at the moment they are sitting, last 5 games up against Spain, they've lost 4. So really not the best run. So I do want to see them play each other, whether or not that's the final or the 3rd place playoff, just for the sake of seeing if New Zealand and Spain are going to have a punch up, because they were both very fired up in their last one. What game still says Mohaden? We've still got plenty more. They're all scheduled on the channel, or at least the ones that we know who's going to be playing in the matches are. Now 3.5 minutes remaining. GB ready to feed this ball into the scrum. 20 metres out from the Fijian line, and with Nasova off the field for the next 2 minutes, it does mean that there should be a gap somewhere in that Fijian defensive line. Now nicely going away to the right-hand side here for Great Britain. Wide cut out pass. In fact, he's going to go for the cross kick. GB trying a little bit of everything. Well handled by Williams, and Jardine does score the try. A little bit of afterstool. Now, I don't know what Jardine, I think he said effing dive on me again, although in the process of the try, I think it was the motion. He's asking for a yellow card, but the only one who was going to get a yellow card for that one was him. We're going to see the replay. So what happens here? So Jardine as the try, then Nasova tries to make the tackle and then lands past him. They're saying it's frustration from Nasova, but it really wasn't. It was just a motion of trying to stop him from scoring. And I feel like that is probably tempers from both sides, really, of having such a poor weekend in general. 31 points to 7 at the moment, the score. However, is the main game live the final? Is the main game live as in like the final will be taking place in about 6 hours' time. Another run down the wing. Great Britain. Oh, that looked like double movement, but I think they're going to check this one on the TMO. Time is off at the moment. We'll be checking to see whether or not the try was scored. Now, I will mention the next game that we're going to be covering on the channel is actually Kenya versus USA. That one is kicking off at 6:28. It is just around the corner. In fact, they might say that this is all one big dynamic movement here for Mason. I am also British citizen, says Bruce. Was that your big news from earlier on? But just reaching out does manage to score the... Well, it looks like it's on the line, so I think this should be actually okay. First initial reaction was he seemed like he was a bit far out. Oh, no. Okay, in the passage before... Scrum for Fiji, they've actually found something else. Who's in the semis? For the men's, it's going to be Spain versus Argentina and New Zealand versus South Africa. In the women's, it is Canada versus Australia and New Zealand versus USA. So how does the result of this game justify the new version of Sevens? Yeah, nothing really changes for these two sides other than they just finished certain ranks. But yeah, it's, I did go forward for that one of Glover. I know not the news. I got to tell you still, says Bruce. Yeah, it's quite interesting the change in the Sevens circuit in terms of some of the lower teams seems to have fired them up even more, such as USA. They know that they have to be at the top or else then their Sevens goes straight downwards at a skyrocketing pace. But for a few of the other teams, it just seems like they've lost that motivation because they thought they were getting on the World Sevens circuit and now they've found out, well, no, you're not. You're actually only going Division 2. Now going off to the left-hand side, chance for Georgie Nasova. Is there a Sevens mode in Rugby 25? There is not, no. And I don't think there will be that I know of, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe they added in as a fun little extra, although it might take about 3 years to get added in at the rate that they're going. Another penalty does go the way of the Fijians. More incentive to play better, says Bruce. Now going off to the left-hand side, nicely taken by Manuele Mai. Has a bit of a slip near the sideline. Going back across, 90 seconds remaining. Salah the dummy from Tario Vailawa. Oh, big clean out. Coming in the breakdown, getting rid of the GB defence. Now Nasova trying to find his way through, this time being Georgie. Does currently sit leading in terms of the overall tries scored. Another step, Sanyela passes it across. That is a hospital pass, big time there. Are you working today, says Mohadeen? Not in the morning anyway, because the Sevens goes right through. I might have to work after the last 7 stream. Nice run forward from Sanyela. Out on the wing. Trying to find a pass on the inside. Demeliwele Mai. Still 50 seconds remaining in this contest. Back across to the right-hand side. Open space for Tario Vailawa to score. It won't be enough to win this game, but it will help them a little bit more back into this contest for Fiji. Still 30 seconds remaining, so the only Sevens game is a Mario Sonic game on the Wii U. Although Rugby Challenge 4 does have Sevens in it. It actually has a few licensed teams as well. I phone in sick again, says Bruce. That only really works when your dad's not your boss, so like he'll be probably out in about half an hour or so. He'll go, well, he's obviously not sick. But one's going to be kicked off. Now, I should mention the next game, like I said, it's going to be kicking off in the very near future. GB, that one's gone into touch. So that will be the end of this match. So we will be transferring straight over to that next game taking place between Kenya and the USA. I will see you all in about 30 seconds.